Welcome to the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday episode. I'm your host, Aman, and today I'm going to talk about one wish for each NFL team. And of course, since we're past the NFL trade deadline, I'm just going to talk about what side of the ball team should address the most and like what specific positions if they want to stay in contention or even become a playoff team contender and all that jazz. But without further ado, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms because we literally address every single sports topic that occurred in the past week through our shorts on YouTube and TikTok, our episodes every Saturday exclusively on Spotify and Apple, and then, of course, these 10-minute episodes over here on YouTube 4 times a week. And so, follow us on that. Keep up the support. Again, we mention it every episode, but it's so true. We literally broke so many channel records this month, so keep that going. But let's start with the Miami Dolphins. I feel like you definitely addressed the defensive side of the ball. Because Tua looking like an MVP candidate. Tyreek Hill would be an MVP if the MVP wasn't a quarterback award. Because the only way a receiver can win an MVP is having a great quarterback. And so it kind of works out. A quarterback can't be good if you're throwing to like third string receivers. And before you guys mentioned it, the Chiefs do not have third string receivers by any stretch of imagination. They're just not wide receiver ones quite yet. But we'll talk to the Chiefs when we get there. The Dolphins, sign a linebacker or defense because you're set on offense. You can stay in contention because I know they've been struggling of beating teams over 500. But then let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Move on there real quickly. Josh Allen, he's been struggling since he's entered the league. I'm pretty sure he's led the league in interceptions. And we see Dak Prescott, who's was prone to throwing interceptions, vowed to keep that number down this season, and he has, to his credit. As much as people love to hate the Cowboys, got to give Dak Prescott credit because now, the Cowboys beat the Seahawks, an above 500 team. So, people are just going to latch on to whatever they can just because it's the Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan by any stretch of the imagination, but that's just what I'm saying. But the Bills, it's not a Josh Allen problem, it's a defense. They've allowed quite a bit of points this season, and especially against the Eagles. Despite that communication between Gabe Davis and Josh Allen, had the defense gotten a couple more stops, the Bills would have beaten the Eagles. The Bills would have been 7-5, and we'll see if they miss the playoffs now. But it's pretty alarming. Like, fine, Josh Allen's prone to throwing interceptions this season, but at some point you got to look at the defense as well. So address defense a lot because obviously. They've lost Milano to injury. They're just depleted with injuries. It almost happens. I feel like it's always Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, or Tre'Davious White getting hurt. And now this is Milano. People forget he was on track to be the best linebacker in the league until he got hurt. And he definitely would help that team. Von Miller, there's news surrounding that. We don't really address that on the podcast, but now you're losing Von Miller too, so it's not looking good in Buffalo. New York Jets, just health, honestly. They would wish for being healthy because if Aaron Rodgers was at quarterback, there might be 7-4 instead of 4-7. And I don't really think they should add anyone because you got a great young duo in Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Got Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. They have great players, good offensive line, elite defense. So just being healthy more than anything. The Jets really don't need to add anyone to be content. New England Patriots, I feel like it's a coaching staff issue because people forget Mac Jones. He made it to the Pro Bowl, even though it was as an injury replacement. You still have to be a good enough quarterback to even be considered for that, so people forget. Like, Mac Jones is struggling fine, but it's definitely a coaching staff issue. Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice, SMU guy. I'm always going to mention that whenever we talk about the Chiefs and Rashee Rice. He's emerging as the top target outside of Travis Kelce for that Chiefs team. So maybe you get a bona fide receiver next to Rashee Rice to stay in contention. that defense is looking very elite this season. And so you don't really got to address much. Maybe, if anything, a running back or receiver next to Rashee Rice. And I mean, it's the 49ers who have allowed the least amount of points in the league, and then it's the Chiefs, which is kind of crazy to think about. The Broncos address the defensive side because you obviously got Patrick Surtain, who's like lock on the defensive end. Just don't address anything there, but build on that defense. There's 5-game winning streak coming out of nowhere. There are obviously holes on the offense. Try to get more weapons for Russell Wilson to throw to, addressing that defense. And the Raiders, you're literally one competent quarterback away from competing. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo was supposed to be. And if Antonio Pierce was coaching Derek Carr, it might have been a different story. Josh McDaniels absolutely did not pan out for the Raiders. And so Devontae Adams is suffering as part of it, which is unfortunate because I think when healthy, he's the best receiver in the league. The LA Chargers, again, coaching staff issue like the Patriots. They have all the skill players, but it just seems like there's always injuries with them every single year in addition to the coaching staff issues. If that's letting go of Brandon Staley, then that's letting go. And that's fine. But when you have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and Keenan Allen having the year of his life pretty much, I don't know how they're 4-7. It's just crazy to me. The Ravens, Zay Flowers is looking like a great pickup. Maybe get another receiver. OBJ, I don't know if he's going to stay or be as good for long, but definitely a receiver next to Zay Flowers. Steelers are just an odd team because they're looking like they're sticking with Kenny Pickett. Maybe get a great running back because even though Warren's been doing well, Najee Harris has been sort of resurrecting his career. I don't know if it's sustainable. Cleveland Browns, another team where, similar to the Jets, just stay healthy and you're a competent quarterback away from winning. The Cincinnati Bengals, their one wish was the health of Joe Burrow. Now he's injured. They played with fire. He was never healthy all season, and now that he's down, they're likely going to miss the playoffs. So I just think address that offensive line. Since Joe Burrow has entered the league, he's been the most sacked quarterback. Like, they've tried to address the line, but it's just not working out with injuries. So just help. Jacksonville Jaguars, I think it's also health. They're 8-3, nearly at the top of the AFC. So just help. Indianapolis Colts, they re-signed Jonathan Taylor. They're 6-5. The Texans are 6-5 as well. I think the Texans just keep building on that defense because you've got C.J. Stroud, you've got Tank Dell, you've got Nico Collins, re-sign Dalton Schultz. Like, you've got all these skill players. Maybe go and get a running back. Maybe go and get like another deadly weapon next to C.J. Stroud. The Colts, Anthony Richardson. This is weird because obviously Richardson's out for the year. And obviously defense, now that Jack Leonard is gone from the team because he got released, likely signed with a contender. Tennessee Titans, they're just a full-on rebuilding team. Wouldn't be surprised if they let go of Derrick Henry and even DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason. I wouldn't say they're a quarterback away. They're just a very, very odd team. So in the NFC, the Eagles and Cowboys, I really don't think they need to address anything. Just their one wish is staying healthy and competing. The New York Giants, they have a lot of holes, especially on offense. Daniel Jones, it's not looking like a great contract for him. So just addressing the offensive side of the ball. The Commanders, same thing here. It might be a coaching staff issue. Bieniemy has got Sam Howell passing for the most yards in the league. And outside of him, I think it's a coaching staff issue. The 49ers, they're figuring everything out. The Seahawks are just struggling right now. Like, they're in a pretty big slump. The Rams, 5-6. Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams coming out of nowhere, saving the season. The Cardinals, they have a lot of holes. The Lions, I don't think they need to address anything. Vikings, probably quarterback now that even Kirk Cousins is going to be out for a while with the Achilles injury. The Packers, they're just a couple years of competing without adding anybody because they're kind of young. They're a great young team, and I believe in them, man. The Chicago Bears, we'll see if they uh, draft Caleb Williams. I don't think they will because obviously they have the extra pick that the Panthers gave them. But I think they definitely go Marvin Harrison because that trio of Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, and Justin Fields, that's gonna be deadly. The Falcons, I think they're a quarterback away from competing. I do not think Ritter is the long-term answer. Of course, Arthur Smith's controversially coaching Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts, but I think they're a quarterback away from competing. I know they tried to trade for Lamar Jackson before he inevitably re-signed with the Baltimore Ravens. But the Saints, I thought Derek Carr would make them compete, man. They're sort of been a dumpster fire throughout the season, which has honestly shocked me. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're still a quarterback away from competing. They're going to lose Mike Evans after this season, so maybe address that receiving option if they still want to rebuild and keep Baker Mayfield. But similar to how they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, they have a Super Bowl caliber defense. They're just one great quarterback away. The Panthers, I mean, I'm a Panthers fan. Honestly, everything, man. Bryce Young, like, I preferred C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson over Bryce Young. We'll see how the new coach does. But there's a lot of holes throughout the team. A lot from the coaching staff, ownership, player personnel. There's a lot of problems with the Panthers right now, which is not good. But with that, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. See you on Monday for another 10-minute episode, or over on Spotify and Apple for the podcast episode, or if you're into shorts, see you there. Have a great week.